Hey everyone, it's Horror Free For All, and today I want to take you down memory lane and talk about my favorite horror movie experiences in the movie theaters. Now, this goes back to mainly my teenage years up to my adulthood. I don't really remember much from my childhood other than movies I just saw, so nothing too far back, but a lot of these memories of these movies that I'm going to be sharing were, I want to express the context of this. These were my favorite experiences by a multitude of reasons, whether I loved the movie or where I saw it specifically, or whether the audience that I was participating, watching the movie with was just absolutely fun to watch a movie with, you know what I mean? Like the audience was getting into the movie and it just helped elevate the experience, or there's something about seeing the movie either in like a 3D setting or something that just popped to me and just entertained the shit out of me. Stuff like that. So we have multitudes of examples here. I'm not saying that just because these movies are some of my favorite theater experiences necessarily makes them my favorite movies of all time, even though I would say that all of these movies in some capacity I love. And it all starts when I first saw them the way I did. Minus the first example I'm going to be sharing, which was me seeing these movies that came out years beforehand, way later after the fact, in a fun setting to kind of elevate the movies. So I guess I'll start there because that's a good way to kind of kick this off. Both of these movies I saw in a drive-in back-to-back viewing. It was back in like 2015, 2016 range. I saw that my drive-in that existed, I think, 2 hours away from me back when I lived in Virginia, was doing some horror movies throughout late September and throughout October. And I saw on one of the days I was going to have off, they had two movies that I thought would be perfect to see in a drive-in setting. And they were Jeepers Creepers and House of a Thousand Corpses. And I was a massive fan of both of these movies at the time, and I still am in a lot of degrees. I don't think they're, maybe Jeepers Creepers I think is kind of like a perfect movie. House of a Thousand Corpses has kind of waned on my love over the years, but I still really enjoy it. I mean, I recently picked up the steelbook for it from Best Buy because I was like, gotta have House of a Thousand Corpses, But I'll tell you this. Seeing both of these movies in a drive-in setting is essentially the perfect way to experience these movies. Both of these came out in the early 2000s. Both of these are emulating that early 1970s, late 1960s drive-in schlock. And I'll tell you what helped make this experience was having a fall atmosphere. I think it was like early October. The trees in the field nearby, they were all like browning, and there was piles of leaves everywhere. It was kind of cold, so me and my friends that went there, we sat in the back of my friend's truck. We had blankets. We were all wearing flannels. We had some heat going on. I think we brought like a portable fire pit and like a mini one, even though we weren't supposed to have it. We still brought it anyway. And there was just a packed lawn of people laying out on the lawn with their blankets, people sitting out in their cars. There's families. There's the people that look like they, religiously listen to only 80s hair, like metal music. There's average Joes, all walks of life type of people. But the crowd just, when both of these movies played, like Jeepers Creepers, the opening sequence, people were like cheering and waiting for the license plate to pop up, and people were quoting the movie. And when the creeper came on in scenes, like you could tell who was watching the movie for the first time ever. It was just something about it, like hearing the people scream and seeing it on the drive-in, medium. Now, every time I go to watch this movie, I have to think of the drive-in medium to help me like just put myself in that memory, because it's easily my favorite viewing experience of this movie. As for House of a Thousand Corpses, the audience was a lot more reactive to this movie, and because people were like saying, "Holy shit, that's fucked up," and like, "What the hell am I watching?" Shit like that. Girls were screaming their heads off whenever they saw, one of the hillbillies of the Firefly family doing their shenanigans. People were laughing along with Sherry Moon Zombie's character. And when Dr. Satan came on near the end, and anytime there was like a trippy, Rob Zombie sequence in the film, people were people were groaning, and you could tell they were getting uncomfortable. And then, like I said, the Dr. Satan stuff, people were like, holy fuck, like chanting stuff. It was just so much fun. I would say that this one was definitely, like I said, the more reactive of the two. But I will say this movie as well, perfect in a drive-in setting. And I love the fact that I got to experience both of these in a drive-in. There are a few movies that I think would be perfect in a drive-in that I still have on my bucket list and hopefully can see one day. But yeah, fun time with these at the drive-in. Now this one I saw at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida on my 17th birthday. And I remember my mom was asking me, while we were at the park that day, I was there with my mom and my dad and my siblings, what I wanted to do. And I said, I don't care what we do. We can spend the whole day at the park as long as we see Scream 4. And we saw Scream 4 on my birthday. It's the first rated R movie I ever saw, with my own ID, buying my own ticket. I remember the Ghostface standee outside of the theater. I got to take my picture with it. I remember a giant Scream 4 banner that was hanging on one of the light poles in the park. It was just so unreal. And going inside to see the movie, there was a lot of people there to see it. I think it was sold out because it was a really hot day that day and everybody was going to see a movie. So, yeah, I remember the whole crowd in the theater was electric. Everybody was just excited to see this. Anytime Sidney Prescott or Gale Weathers or Dewey came on, people were cheering and doing their typical things that you would expect. But also, I think people were giving themselves to the movie a little bit in this experience. People were actually gasping and groaning whenever there's kills and chase sequences. And I remember the parking deck scene. There was people like gasping. Like they were shocked that actually happened in the movie. And people were laughing at certain things, like the whole kill with Anthony Anderson and stuff. And I remember the killer reveal near the end was so shocking that after the movie was over, people were asking each other, did you see that coming? That's insane. They'd never done something that crazy before. People were just so happy for this movie. I mean, they were just blown away by it. And I was among the group, and I've been blown away about this movie for a long time. I still think Scream 4 is one of my favorite movies. Just recently, Walmart released this limited edition slipcover, and because Scream 4 is one of my favorite slashers, I had to go get it. That's just how I am. I even picked up The Evil Dead 2. So, but that aside, yeah, seeing Scream 4 at Universal Studios is just one of my core memories. Not saying that I haven't had the opportunity to see more movies in certain settings. I think I saw Venom: Let There Be Carnage at like a Tropicana IMAX. That's like a casino. I've seen weird stuff like that from time to time, but I love this. I love this movie, and I love the fact that I saw it in Universal, like I said. Now, this movie experience, I think this movie came out in the same year as Scream 4, and I remember me and a bunch of my high school friends, we were so hyped for this movie. I think this was the first time we ever bought digital tickets. we wanted to be able to see the movie opening weekend. I think we all went on like a Saturday night. A bunch of high schoolers also went. My group specifically was like 15 people, but it was a packed house, sold out, and it was a 3D showing. And we all saw Final Destination 5. I remember we were all hyped. Everybody was like, hey, you're going to see Final Destination 5 this weekend, right? Because, when I was in high school, it was kind of like an unspoken thing. Like, whenever there was a hot movie that came out, we all tried to go see it, like, as like a class. It was kind of weird. But this specific time, it was pretty much like all like 17, 18-year-olds, maybe some 20-year-olds here and there. It was a very young crowd. Everybody was singing in 3D. We had just rows of people getting hyped. And when the movie started, everybody was cheering. There was people, speaking their minds whenever some crappy CGI came on, and people were laughing along with them. The opening sequence of the film had people just like cheering and hollering and like, oh shit, that's fucked up. Like, people were just giving themselves and having a ball with it. And whenever there was tense setup to deaths, like the one with the gymnastics girl, there was people squirming, and like it seemed like every single girl in the theater screamed at the top of their lungs whenever there was like a gnarly just shot kill. And yeah, I remember people were cheering near the end when that big revelation happened that ties this movie to the first movie. People were legit like clapping, and I remember after the movie wraps up, people were just like talking with each other like, dude, that's so crazy that they ended it like that. That's like one of the best endings I've ever seen in movies. And I remember saying like, I thought the movie was good. I wasn't the biggest fan of it at the time. But I think the audience experience helped sell the movie for me. And whenever I think about seeing this movie in the theater, I just remember how much fun it was. And the 3D effects, you can't really get the 3D version of this movie nowadays. And that's very unfortunate because I thought the 3D looked way better than Part 4 did. But nonetheless, yeah, I think the 3D kind of also helped it because you had stuff flying in your face and people were constantly like jumping and squirming from that too. It was just fun. Everybody was having, laugh-filled, fits, and people were screaming off the top of their lungs, like I said. And it's just one of those things where, when you find an audience that has that synergy, you just want to have fun with it. And it's hard to find audiences like that. Maybe every 10 movies you see, you might get one energetic audience here every once in a while. But this one was just next level. Now, this one was a recent memory of mine. I think it was right after COVID when this movie came out. And because this film was filmed in the town that I currently live in, it was kind of like a community thing. Everybody got together and went to the theater that I work at to go see it. There was a big old news event about it. And it was surrounding Halloween Kills, by the way. I remember there were some people that worked on the film that came, that set up like a table in a bigger house that we had. I had the day off. I had gotten my tickets in advance. I actually had to pay for them because, my employee pass didn't cover them for free. But I just remember everybody just being hyped. There was people with Michael Myers jumpsuits. Of course, people try to wear masks inside, but we're not allowed to, let people wear masks inside, unfortunately. But once they got in the theater, they put them back on, and people were just antsy to see this movie. It was like right after COVID. People were locked up in their houses forever. It was just a good old community bonding experience. I think there was still social distancing at the time, though, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a little bit lighter than, former packed houses that I was used to. But it seemed like everybody, once the movie kicked on and once the producers kind of like said their thing and told us all thank you, people were just giving themselves to this movie. They were like, Michael Myers, go Michael. They were like chanting, go Michael, and they were legit laughing at some of the scenes. I don't think most people that I saw the movie with in that house thought the movie was bad or anything. I thought everybody seemed like they really enjoyed themselves with it. And I remember the opening scene, people were shocked, and the flashback sequence, people were just blown away by how beautiful that looked. And like I remember one guy said after the fact, he goes, that was one of the best things of the Halloween franchise I've ever seen. And once Michael goes on his killing spree, hunting down Lindsay Wallace, people are freaking out. Like I remember this one girl was like kind of crying. So yeah, it was an energetic crowd. Not the most energetic like Final Destination 5 ever, but people were really into it, and it helped sell the experience for me. And I remember I was just so glued to the movie, and I remember saying that this is definitely one of my favorites of this franchise, and it has been ever since. And I think that seeing it the way I did kind of helps. I could have saw Scream 5 this way too, but I didn't because I wasn't hyped for Scream 5. I do have the opportunity to see David Gordon Green's Exorcist Believer because it was also filmed in my town I currently live in. So I might try to do it like the way I did for Halloween Kills. But yeah, very fun memory here with this movie. But my absolute favorite movie experience of all time goes to a movie that I saw when I was maybe like 14 or 15. And this was one of the first horror movies I can remember seeing minus me being a younger kid with my dad just sneaking me out to go see a movie. And he didn't care what we saw. He'd just buy whatever. But I remember when I saw this, me and my friends, my high school friends, were so blown away that this became not only a staple of our friend group to watch all the time, but we had to watch it in the 3D version. And it's My Bloody Valentine 3D. I remember my friend's older brother and his older sister, they were not 21, but they somehow were able to get us tickets, and we all went to go see it on opening night, and it was a packed house. It was this new 3D technology we were all checking out. We were used to this old yellow 3D glasses, but at this time, they had the new 3D glasses, the black frames with the black lenses, and we thought this was the coolest thing ever. And when the movie kicks on, when I say that this audience was probably one of the most electric audiences I've ever been in, I mean it. People were just giving themselves to the movie. The 3D effects, people were just oohing and ahhing about how cool it looked. I even was doing it. I got legit jump scared. I screamed my full head off, at least with 2 of the kill sequences. I thought it was so gory. It was just, the crowd was just outright scared. There was more crowd reaction from this movie than in my most recent memory watching like Evil Dead Rise, where literally nobody said anything throughout the entire movie, maybe a chuckle at one comedy line, but nobody was actually screaming or scared or nothing. But this movie, from start to finish, it was just noise from the crowd. I mean, I cannot express that enough. I had a ball with it. And I will agree with a lot of My Bloody Valentine 3D fans. If you never saw this in the theater, you really missed out. This was it was so much fun to watch this. This is my favorite 3D movie of all time. And every time I think about what is my favorite movie experience ever, I think of this, because just of how blown away I was with when the miner throws his pickaxe when I saw that for the first time. I was literally like leaning back in my seat. I was scared shitless when I saw him go on a killing rampage in the middle part of the movie. When he, especially what he does to Tom Atkins' character, people were like looking away, and I think one girl even was like dry heaving, like she was about to vomit. It was intense, and the plot twist at the end, people were like, oh, like shocked, surprised, you know. It was just so much fun, and this also kind of stems to video rental memories of me and my friends going to Blockbuster trying to find the one copy that had 3 or 4 3D glasses and shitty anaglyph, and we would try to watch it and with those glasses like champs, and we all knew it wasn't as good as the movie quality was, until years later when they came out with this Blu-ray 3D version. This actually does this movie justice, this version here. So this is pretty much how I watched the movie, but man, it's hard to explain how fun this movie was. You had to be there. And if there's ever a limited showing or like an anniversary showing of this movie with 3D, I'm buying a ticket and I'm going to see it in the theater, because this is definitely one of those films I will say that you had to see it in the theater. It's just one of those things. It's hard to explain. But yeah, those are my favorite movie theater experiences with horror movies. Let me know down in the comment section. What are yours? Did you have opposite reactions to some of the movies I had? Maybe you had some really bad movie theater experiences that you want to share instead. I'm down to hear those as well. Let's keep the conversation going. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see y'all next time.